Good afternoon. This is Congressman Steve Cohen. Thank you for joining me on this telephone town hall to discuss what Congress is doing to address the coronavirus pandemic. We're treating this crisis, as every other congressional office should and is, as the most serious disaster in our country since the 1918 Spanish flu pandemic. Everyone will be affected and has been affected by this. Everyone has a role to play in trying to limit the severity and the duration of the pandemic. I know many of you are fearful, and it's reasonable that you are. This disease has already killed over 15,000 people in the country, and it's estimated to have at least 80,000 to 100,000 victims in our country. We've had 21 losses here in Shelby County, and it's unfortunate, but we're going to have more. We've got to flatten the curve, and that's become a term that we'll know in history as some part of this era. That's when we reduce the number of people getting infected and needing hospitalization so that we don't overrun our hospitals like it happened in New York and have a possible lack of ventilators that will be necessary for people in severe cases. So we're trying to flatten the curve, and the best way to do that is for everybody to follow the orders put in place by Mayor Strickland and Mayor Harris by staying safe at home. Wash your hands frequently, and wash your hands whenever you go out and touch a product. When I get my newspapers, they're in plastic. I wear gloves. I take the plastic off and put it in the trash. I go in and I wash my hands. 20 seconds, all parts of your hands. And if you go to the grocery store or the pharmacy, which are essential services where you can go, it's recommended that you wear a protective face mask if you go in. I wear a protective face mask every time I go out. A protective face mask can be made of fabric. It don't need to be a surgical type mask. You can make your own. And you should keep social distancing, which is staying 6 feet away from people, at least 6 feet away. So the droplets that might come out, microscopically tiny, invisible droplets, don't touch your body and affect you. If you're feeling sick, stay home and isolate yourself from others in your house. Don't go to work. Don't go out. If you are ill and need medical assistance, you can call the Shelby County COVID-19 hotline at 833-943-1658 before going to a medical facility. As there's been mass unemployment along with the health problems, we've got great economic problems. And the mass unemployment will have an effect on our overall economy and on your particular personal financial situation. We understand that, and we're trying to do all we can to make things better. The CARES Act, which passed on March 27, and the only time I've been out of Memphis, I flew back on a 6 o'clock in the morning flight and came home at 7 that evening. It provides a huge amount of money to help employers maintain their payrolls. Paycheck Protection Plan program. The bill also provides $1,200 for direct payments to individuals, most everybody in the country, and that money won't be taxed and it won't have to be paid back. And you will get, if you're unemployed, meaning you were terminated from your employment, you can't just quit, you'll get an extra $600 a week for 16 weeks. Congress passed 2 bills before the CARES Act under the direction of the leadership of Speaker Pelosi, and they help pay for research leading to a vaccine, for monies for the CDC and the NIH, require family paid medical leave, and provide small business administration loans. And for free tests. Test. Over the past 7 days, I've announced more than $51 million in federal grants to Memphis institutions directly from the CARES Act, and there'll be many, many more grants to be announced. We've had $3.6 million we announced yesterday to 3 community health centers, the Christ Community Health Centers, Memphis Health Center, and the Tri-State Health Center. They're on the front line of the pandemics, and you can get tested at those centers, as well as at Tiger Lane. You can go to those health centers and get tested. Last week, I announced $35 million for MATA, which came out of that bill. Ridership has dropped, and they need that money to keep MATA going and for use for people that need it. We had a $5.2 million grant for Shelby County's emergency HIV program and $7.2 million in COVID-related housing grants to keep people in their homes. They went to HUD programs downtown. Keep all those facilities going. I've asked LaTanya Chanel, who is the Director of the Small Business Administration's Tennessee office, and Suzanne Carr, Director of Legislation and Special Projects with Tennessee's Health and Human Services Department, to join us on this call. These experts will provide important information and help answer your previously submitted questions. And now I'd like Ms. Chanel to introduce herself and to give us some comments on what's going on with the Health and Human Services Department and any other suggestions she makes in the next couple of 2 to 5 minutes. Ms. Chanel?
Thank you, Congressman Cohen. I hope everyone can hear me clearly. My name is LaTanya. I am the state director, your state director here in Tennessee for the Small Business Administration. And what I will do is go through the list of questions that were provided to me. And if anyone has any more generic questions about any of the other pieces of legislation that came out of the CARE Act that the Congressman referenced that assist small businesses, I'm happy to take those questions and also provide a quick overview. So I'm going to start with the questions that were sent to me. The first question I received was, how do I apply for a small business loan?
Ms. Chanel, we're going to get to the questions in just a few minutes. First, I just wanted you to introduce yourself and give some introductory statements. And Ms. Carr, would you do the same? And then we'll get into the questions.
My apologies. Hi, this is LaTanya. I'm your state director with the Small Business Administration. Of course, we're a federal agency, and I am your state director for the Tennessee office.
Thank you so much. Ms. Suzanne Carr?
Hi, yes, thank you, Congressman Cohen, for having me on the call. My name is Suzanne Carr, and I'm the Director of Legislation for the Tennessee Department of Human Services. We are here to help our fellow Tennesseans during this time through our programs and services such as SNAP and TANF and through child care, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, both of you, for joining us. I want to thank each of you, and now I do want to ask both of you questions that the constituents have posted on our social media sites. Before I do that, I want to mention my congressional website, cohen.house.gov. People out there listening, write that down, cohen.house.gov. We have regularly updated practical information from the Center for Disease Control, other public health agencies there, schools, county and city services, and much more. And that's where you can get all the information that's available on what to do with the coronavirus, and we will keep that updated regularly. So visit that site, and if you'd like to sign up for my weekly newsletter, which will have information also about the coronavirus, you can press *6 at any time in the call to subscribe to the weekly newsletter, *6. Now, here's the first question. And these were submitted ahead of time by newsletter subscribers and constituents on Facebook and Twitter. Mrs. Prudence J. asks us, I need to know what do the people who receive SSI have to do to get the stimulus check? Well, good question. We've had a lot of those. The Treasury Department announced on Wednesday, April 1st, that Social Security recipients who did not file tax returns will receive their economic stimulus payments automatically, $1,200 per person, $2,400 for a couple. And they will get them by direct bank deposit that you filed with the Social Security Administration. However, as of the 3rd of April, recipients of SSI, Supplemental Security Income, veterans benefits, and other people who do not typically file taxes, they are still required to file tax returns to receive their checks. We've written a letter with other members of Congress to ask that be changed, but to date, Treasury has not changed it. So if you only get SSI or veterans benefits, you've got to file some type of a tax return to get your check. If you filed your taxes in 2018 or 2019, or you get Social Security checks, you've got a direct deposit, and you'll be getting those. They'll start to go out the week of April 13. I think for people that file their taxes, and then the following week for people with Social Security. The distribution of checks will start on the 13th, and then they'll go on after that. The Social Security IRS plans to make payments to Social Security benefits who do not file tax returns in 18 and 19, and they receive their Social Security benefits by direct deposit. After 3 weeks after those deposits are made, the IRS will begin to issue paper checks at a rate of about $5 million per week. That could take up to 20 weeks. So a lot of people, if you don't get direct deposit, the checks will come pretty far down the line. They will be issued in reverse adjusted gross income order, so the neediest people, people that need that money the most, will get them the first. The IRS will create an online portal for people to update their direct deposit information. The portal will also allow taxpayers to find out the status of their rebate repayment. And more guidance concerning that will be forthcoming. And please check back with our website or irs.gov, irs.gov/coronavirus. For taxpayers who will file a 2019 return but have not yet done so, economic stimulus will be dispersed weekly as those returns come in. Non-Social Security recipients who do not file tax returns may need to file a simple tax return. The IRS expects to release this return soon. The IRS expects it will contain only a few questions. You name, your Social Security number, dependents, and deposit information. More guidance regarding that tax return will be forthcoming, and you can check back again with irs.gov/coronavirus. Now, Ms. Chanel, Mr. Charles D. asks, how do I apply for a small business loan? Ms. Chanel, are you there?
I am here trying to unmute myself with our technology on this end. Forgive me. No problem. So I want to make sure that I cover the question as broadly and as specifically as possible. Lately I've been saying on a normal day when we were not dealing with COVID-19, you would typically apply for an SBA loan with an SBA lender. However, I'm assuming the question relates directly to what has come out of the CARES Act and what has come out of the legislation that you mentioned prior to the CARES Act for SBA as it relates to COVID-19. So currently there's two different types of loan products that the SBA is offering as it relates to COVID-19. One of them is a loan product that's directly from SBA, and it's for businesses as well as some nonprofits who have experienced it. Let me back up. Who have experiencing issues since the COVID-19 national declaration. Every single business in the country and every single state has a declaration where you can submit an application directly to SBA, directly on our website, www.sba.gov/disaster. And this is a disaster loan that can be up to $2 million. What has come out of the CARES Act is that for this type of loan, the application is now streamlined, and there's also an opportunity to receive up to $10,000 loan advance, which will turn into a grant. What that means is you submit your application to SBA, it's streamlined, you check the box that you want to be eligible for this advance. The advance will come whether you choose to decline the loan, you choose to accept the loan, or choose to accept fewer loan funds that you applied for. You can keep that advance and you do not have to pay it back. That's an SBA direct loan, and those funds are available and have been before the CARES Act. With the CARES Act, there's a second loan product that became available called the Payroll Protection Plan that the Congressman already mentioned. This is an expansion of an existing SBA loan product where you have to deal with a bank. You go directly to a bank and you make an application for a payroll protection loan. This loan is provided at an interest rate of 1% to businesses that apply for that loan. And the purpose of that loan is for you to pay your employees or to bring them back on board if you have already had to let them go. And you have until June 30th to bring them back on board. And that loan is calculated based on your payroll plus overhead, and that amount can be completely forgiven through that loan program. So those are the two existing programs that most are asking about right now and that are currently active right now. One, you come directly to sba.gov/disaster. The other one, you go to a bank lender, and we can get into later how do you find one of those lenders.
And the bank lenders have been swamped. And we have we're trying to get a new tranche of money that will go to some of the community-oriented lenders who are more likely to be those that deal with and supply loans to minorities, African Americans in the urban areas, farmers, women, et cetera. Because sometimes the big banks are more in with the big business.
Yes.
In a similar vein, Ms. Teresa L. asked, is there anything that is being done to get the PPP out to small business more quickly? I mean, are the computers working and is everything, I mean, it's been a pretty slow process. But.
Yeah, it has been a pretty slow process. I have to tell you that on a normal day, on a normal year, SBA handles and oversees about $27 billion in loans through our typical loan program. With the passage of the CARES Act, that particular loan program is now at $349 billion. So here's where the current delays are. If you are working with a lender and you have already applied to that bank for a PPP loan, and they're telling you that they're waiting for SBA, there's going to be one of two things that as of today at 3:09 p.m. Central that they are waiting for. Either they are still waiting for access to SBA's electronic system to get all that loan documentation into SBA system, which is a possibility. As of Monday, we still had a few lenders out in Tennessee that still did not have access, and we're still working with those lenders every single to get that information up to DC headquarters because, unfortunately, here in Tennessee, we can't add them. That has to be done out of Washington. So that could be one reason why you have not gotten your disbursement yet from that loan if you've been told that it's approved. The second delay with your lender as it concerns the PPP is that lender could be waiting for what's called a loan authorization from SBA. And that loan authorization comes from that same system that some banks don't have access to. But if you're working with a lender that has access to SBA system and they're still telling you that they're waiting for SBA, then chances are that they're waiting for what's called a loan authorization. And as of yesterday, all the lenders have been told how they will get that loan authorization, how they will be notified, and they also have been told that they must disperse the funds within 10 days of getting the loan authorization from SBA. So yes, when you hear the media reports that there have been backlogs and there have been issues on the SBA side, yes, absolutely. We've never dealt with every single bank in the entire country. We typically deal with our SBA lenders on a day-to-day basis. If you hear that there are challenges with some banks aren't accepting applications for one reason or another, that's happening too. So in answer to the broad question, is there anything being done to get the PPP out to small businesses more quickly? Every single day, SBA and Treasury and Washington are doing everything possible to eliminate those bottlenecks so that the lenders can get their approvals and so that the lenders can get their disbursements. On the side where you're having challenges finding a lender, we are here in Tennessee. We literally just 2 days ago just decided to reach out to every single bank to find out ourselves who's doing it because we're getting so many questions from our small businesses who can't access either a bank that will do PPP or saying they're only doing existing clients. So I hope that answered the question. Even though it might not. Yeah, go ahead.
Ms. Shina, they can go to a credit union also, can they not?
Yes, absolutely.
Not just a bank. Thank you.
Yes.
Tawanda S. asked a question, will student loans be forgiven during this time? The CARES Act did include a freeze on all federal student loan payments and interest accruements through September 30 of 2020, but that's federal student loan payments and interest. The bill suspends any wage garnishment or tax refund reduction for people who have defaulted on their federal student loans. And if you're unsure if your student loan qualifies, you can go to studentaid.gov or contact your loan provider, studentaid.gov or your loan provider. I'm a co-sponsor of a forthcoming piece of legislation to give all medical school loans for professionals serving on the front lines and forgive those loans. We've got medical school professional serving, and some medical students have been asked to kind of give up their last month or two of school and get right out there and try to help people. and we need to reward. They're on the front lines, like grocery store workers and delivery people and post office people and firemen and policemen. But the medical staff is right there on the front lines with this, and looking at it, it's a tough job. We've asked Secretary DeVos to consider supporting students' ability to use emergency grants to reduce student loan debt, but those are where we stand with that. Now, Ms. Carr, Mr. Andrew E. wants to know if there's any assistance available to go to people who are on disability or dependents that are older than 17.
Yeah, so currently what we are offering, we have the temporary emergency TANF cash assistance. That is for families with children. For families without children, people on disability, individuals, people older than 17, we have the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. This is what's commonly known as SNAP, or you may have heard of it called food stamps, that helps with food purchases. Families and individuals can visit our website. They can apply online at tn.gov/human services. Our website and application can be accessed through a smartphone if you don't have access to a computer. If not, you can contact our Family Assistance Service Center. For assistance, that number is 866-311-4287, and they are open from 8 a.m. until 4:30 Central Standard Time, Monday through Friday, to help customers.
Ms. Carr, we had several constituents ask about SNAP eligibility, and are additional people eligible to qualify for SNAP benefits considering the pandemic?
Yes, so under the CARES Act, Congress authorized pandemic SNAP. Who that is going to be for is children who would have received free or reduced price meals if not for the school closure. We are currently working with the Tennessee Department of Education to identify those eligible children, and we will have more information to families as soon as we have those details.
And the TANF funds you mentioned, those are monies that we had for years from the federal government, and Tennessee had not used them. They were put into reserve, and they're now being used in a very fortuitous that we have those monies. Governor Lee made them available here, and the way to apply, we have it on our webpage, cohen.house.gov. Cars, or can you give people how they can apply for TANF supplemental help?
Yes, absolutely. So we are so happy that we are able to offer this emergency TANF cash assistance to support Tennessee families up to 2 months. The amount you will receive varies by your household size, but it ranges from $500 to $1,000 for each of the 2 months. So to qualify, the biggest thing is you must have children in the household or be pregnant. This comes out of our TANF block grant, which has to go to families with children. Other qualifications, you have to have been employed as of March 11th, 2020, and either lost your job or lost 50% of your earned income due to COVID-19. You have to be at or below the 85th percentile of the state median income. So just to give an example of what that looks like, if you're a family of 3, you would be making at or below $52,000 a year. So it is a higher threshold than the typical TANF program.
And how to apply is on your website, I presume?
Yes, sir. If you go to tn.gov/human services, there's a banner that takes you to the application. It can be completed completely online or through your smartphone if you have access. Once you submit, you'll get an email that tells you that your application has been received, and you'll also receive an email once it has been approved or denied. We don't need anything from you past that application and the necessary verifications that you'll have to submit the application. And then if you're approved, you'll receive the EBT card within the mail within 10 to 15 days.
Thank you, Ms. Carr. Mrs. Megan S. asked that we should implement a rent or mortgage freeze. Various cities and states have done that, but Tennessee has not, and I don't believe Memphis has either. The CARES Act does, though, ban evictions and provides mortgage forbearances for homeowners with federally backed mortgages. So if you have a federally backed mortgage, you will not be evicted, and there will be a forbearance on your mortgage payments. Phase 4 of CARES 2 proposals from the House Democrats would support an eviction ban for all renters. That's yet to come. And we signed on to a letter requesting $100 billion for emergency rental assistance in the next COVID package, but we'll see where that goes. Ms. Laura G. asked, what is being done to ensure the integrity of the November elections? Well, we're trying to do all we can. And we saw what happened in Wisconsin, I guess it was Tuesday night, when people lined up and stood out there for 3 hours with masks and gloves and all that, risking exposure to the virus simply to exercise their right to vote. And that shouldn't happen. So we've got two challenges coming up: access to the ballot and securing the process. On being able to vote in the CARES Act, it was approved $400 million for Election Assistance Commission, and that'll be helpful. That money will go in turn to states to help them with additional mail-in ballots and changing polling sites, et cetera. We know that's not enough, and we asked for more on the House side, but that's what we got in the bill. And we'd like to see universal mail-in ballots so nobody next November has to go to the polls if they feel like their health could be jeopardized. And that should be an option for every American. That there have been some statements that mail-in voting is not, it could be fraud, it's not the right way to do things, but quite a few states have exclusive mail-in, and they've done that for years. I think it's Oregon is one, and there's some others like that, and they've not found any problems at all. It's effective, accurate, and safe. And of course, if you're over a certain age or you're out of the jurisdiction, you can vote by absentee, and there's not been problems there. So that's something we've got coming up. And the other question, security, and the Russians are trying to mess with us all the time. They're trying to mess with the election by putting out information that's incorrect and mislead the public. They, particularly with African Americans, they put out information in the last election in 2016, the last presidential election, to dissuade African Americans from even wanting to go to vote by putting out material that would make them think, well, what difference does it make? You got to be careful with what you see. And the Russians, there was a story in today's paper, I'm pretty sure it was in the Commercial Appeal, about Russians putting out information about the COVID virus and saying it was caused by the Pentagon or was caused by some other group in the United States, and it's just false. And you got to look at stuff, and social media is not, oftentimes people use social media to put out false information, so you got to be real careful about that stuff, and we've got to be careful about that with voting too. But we're going to work to try to get more and more monies into seeing that the November elections are fair and people get a chance to vote by absentee if possible. Ms. Sandra Hess asked, when will the antibody testing be widely available? There are several locations where testing is available, and the health centers, as I mentioned, are one, and the Tiger Lane is another. It's still limited. It's currently being offered to those who are symptomatic, who have had contact with other confirmed cases, or people who work in the healthcare field. Don't just go to a doctor's office in a healthcare center and say, I want to get tested, unless you have an appointment or your doctor sent you there. And don't go to a doctor's office then either, unless you were instructed to do so by a provider or have an appointment. If you believe you are ill, call the Shelby County COVID-19 hotline at 833-943-1658. 833-943-1658. They will direct you to the best testing site based on your insurance plan. It should be free, but does involve insurance. And the hotline, that's what it was, the hotline, 833-943-1658, is available from 8 in the morning to 4:30, Monday through Sunday, 7 days a week. There have been some problems in getting tested, and some people have been charged more money than they should have, and that's something that needs to work out down the line. The cost of the test is covered regardless of whether you're uninsured, have private insurance, affordable care, ACA coverage, Medicare, or TennCare, but you'll still be charged for a doctor's visit. So if you have not met your deductible, you will receive a request for a copay at a later date. Due to the administration's delayed response, testing might not become widely available until later this year. Scientists are working around the clock to develop faster tests like at-home antibody screenings, treatments for the virus, and most importantly, a vaccine. Until these tests and treatments are widely available, continue to take extreme caution and follow the guidelines set by CDC. Ms. Carr, do you have anything to add on that?
No, sir. I would suggest that people visit the Tennessee Department of Health's website for more information. They keep that pretty up to date and the most accurate info that they have.
Thank you. The next question is for all of us, Ms. Chanel and Ms. Carr both. Miss Ashley W. asked, what can I do to help people in Shelby County who are struggling right now? And there's several ways to support the Shelby County community, and Shelby Countyans have been great about this. The main thing I would say is to keep that 6-foot social distancing wherever you are. Don't go out in crowds. Don't be out with groups of 10 or more. Wash your hands. Wear gloves. Wear masks when you go out. Show appreciation all you can to the people on the front lines, and try to help them out too when they're going through these difficult times. Ms. Carr, Ms. Chanel, any thoughts?
I think from the SBA, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, you go ahead. I'm sorry.
From the SBA side, as it concerns the relief that has been provided under the CARES Act, which are mostly loan programs, I would highly recommend that you go straight to the source. And the source of information for these loan programs are two sources currently. One is sba.gov/PPP, and also the Treasury site, treasury.gov. They're being updated every single hour as changes are being made. We're getting at least 200 to 500 phone calls a day in our office in Tennessee based on information folks are getting from social media, other people. The rules are listed straight on our website. All our FAQs are straight on the website. My staff is available at 615-736-5881. So you have the exact correct answer on how to do these loan programs for you.
And the blood bank is a way to help. If you want to help, there's a need for blood at the Red Cross locations, like there's one at 1399 Madison. But if you on contributing blood, donating blood, that's important right now, very important. Trained medical volunteers can offer their services by registering with a national group at nvoad.org, nvoad.org. YMCA and Mid-South Food Bank are working to provide meals for students at over 60 community sites throughout Shelby County. MIFA is involved in trying to give out meals too. And you stay home. That's a big way to help. Multiple people have wrote in asking how the CARES Act has changed unemployment benefits. The CARES Act includes relief for workers who are facing unemployment challenges, including the self-employed and independent contractors and furloughed workers and gig workers. For those who qualify, recipients will receive an additional $600 a week for 4 months on top of what state unemployment pays now. The unemployment applications can be found online at Tennessee, tn.gov/content/workforce.html. Tennessee, tn.gov/content/workforce. This website's experienced a very high volume of applicants. So to avoid delays, you should try maybe outside of the normal business hours. We've had some questions about the $600 and it being approved. The state had to get an agreement with Labor, the Department of Labor, to do that. They have come up with an agreement, so people will be getting that $600 a week additional, even though for a while early on the state was saying no because they hadn't got the Department of Labor agreement in place. There's also the fact that we're trying to exempt federal pandemic unemployment compensation benefits that you get from any means-tested programs like SNAP, WIC, or TANF. The $600 per week unemployment benefit is retroactive to the date that President Trump declared the national emergency of March 13. So if you haven't gotten in yet, you still can get that retroactive. And it provides a $300 per week federal supplement to individuals in a work-sharing UI program whose hours have been reduced. And it provides $300 per week federal benefit to people like recent graduates or other individuals without necessary work experience to qualify for unemployment, but are otherwise ready and able to work if not for the COVID-19 pandemic. Ms. Evelyn Crittenden asked, how are helping senior citizens that are not eligible for health care insurance? I'm 64 years of age. How can we help those people? Well, depending on your individual situation, senior citizens have a couple options for health care. Medicare is not till you're 65, but if you're laid off for your job, you might be able to get COBRA, which is a federal plan, and your employer is supposed to tell you about that. They have to do that. If you have an employer who has 20 employees or more, you can get COBRA. That'll keep you insured for 60 days if you choose to do that. If you've lost your job and your income's gone down, you've been wiped out, it may be that you can apply and qualify for Medicaid or TennCare in our state, National Health Insurance Program for Low-Income Individuals that's jointly funded by the federal and state governments. Medicaid enrollment takes place year-round. It's based on monthly income, not annual income. And so that's if you have lost your job and you've lost some income, you may qualify for TennCare. And I don't know how is the state open for TennCare, Ms. Carr, for enrollments?
Congress, I am not sure. That would be a question for the Bureau of TennCare. I will be happy to follow up and provide and get that with my counterparts at TennCare and give your office that information so that it can be distributed.
Thank you. You can go to benefits.gov to see if you qualify for Medicaid, and there are other opportunities which we're working on. Ms. Carr, what's the criteria? We talked about TANF. Have we gotten a good response to the TANF program, and do you know if we've gotten a good response from Shelby County?
Yes, sir. I know that as of when the application went live, we had thousands in I think around the 30,000 range of applications just in the first week alone. We've had a tremendous response across statewide. I don't have exact numbers currently, but I know that our staff are consistently working and putting in long hours to make sure those applications get processed. So I would ask people just to bear with us. And I would like to let your constituents know that if you have applied for emergency TANF cash assistance, we do have a hotline that you can get through and check the status of your individual case without having to wait in our service center queue and wait for a person. And that number is 833-496-0661. And again, that's a hotline just to check the status of those emergency assistance benefits. And that way you do not have to wait to talk to a live person.
Thank you. Ms. Rachel B. asked, would we support adding relief for nonprofits with more than 500 employees for future relief programs? Right now it's limited to not-for-profits, and small businesses that have 500 or less employees. We've inquired as to increase it to 600, just a marginal increase, and there would be a cost, but we're trying to see if we can do that. That would affect several businesses and not-for-profits, and there's nothing arbitrary. 500 is arbitrary. It's nothing magic. Ms. Chanel, let me ask you this question. How can borrowers check the status of their loan application for PPP or for EIDL?
So for the PPP status of your loan application, you have to work directly with your bank or credit union or the lender that you have submitted your application to. For PPP loans, again, those are provided actually by bank lenders, non-bank lenders, and credit. So you have to find out from them directly. For the EIDL, which we also call EIDL or Economic Injury Disaster Loan, those are our SBA loans. Several ways to check the status. You can call the customer service center, which is with our disaster office. It's not here in Tennessee. It's centrally located, handling all the applications from around the country. And that phone number is 1-800-659-2955. Let me repeat it. 1-800-659-2955. I will be fully honest with you. There have been some backlogs, in part because, again, so many people have been applying as a result of COVID-19. And at one point, we had tremendous backlogs with folks calling this 800 number. As of last week, 5,000 new staff have been added just to handle the customer service line, and it's now 24 hours, 7 days a week. So you can call around the clock. It's probably best to call before 7 a.m. or after 7 p.m. to get a quick connection to a customer service representative. I can also let you know that as far as the EIDL application, there was a system crash somewhere towards between like the 23rd or 24th of March. If you submitted your application after March the 30th, and if your application starts with a 3 of the EIDL, Economic Injury Disaster Loan, hold tight, wait. Those funds should be coming really soon. You would know if your application began with 3-3 because it was a simplified application. You didn't even have to submit any documents. You just had to answer a series of questions. If your application starts with a, yes, go ahead.
Well, that's all right. You finish up your statement.
And if your application starts with a 2, that means your application was submitted under the long form where you had to submit supporting documentation, and you should be able to get an exact status when you call that 1-800-659-2955 number. Now, we know and recognize that people are getting different answers when they call. We know when people sometimes can't get through. So that's why my staff at 615-736-5881 are doing everything we can to troubleshoot those applicants that can't get a status, still waiting too long, or keep getting answers that are not.
And let me ask you one last question. Who in Memphis can people call if they have problems with their loan applications and they're like me? They sometimes get frustrated with the computer and they want to talk to a human being who can reach out to them and give them an emotional virtual hug. Who can they call and what phone number and what email address?
Sure. So in Memphis, and specifically, we have the Small Business Development Center in Memphis. And I also have one staff member in Memphis who, like the rest of my staff, if you call that 615-736-5881 number, you can either ask for Eric Terrell, who's my staff member, and it'll get routed to him, or you can press 0 and it'll go to any of my staff, all human beings that will answer the phone. The other option is the Small Business Development Center, which is actually located in Memphis. And let me give you that direct phone number.
And LaTanya, like I'm on here.
Oh, hey, Rory. Go ahead and give me a shout out.
Oh, no problem. Well, yeah, definitely. They can contact our office, and that number is 901-333-5085. But also, if you want to get step-by-step assistance, as many people have, you can register for advising. So you'll go to www.T as in Tom, S as in Sam, B as in boy, D as in dog, C as in cat.org, so tsbdc.org, and just register for free advising. And once we get your contact information in there, someone on our team will give you a call and set up a time to go over the application and assist you with that.
Thank you so much for offering that. And you know, we're a community that hugs a lot, and we ain't getting any hugs lately, so we need some emotional hugs. Get those by calling in. If you want to register for the newsletter, push *6. I want to remind you of that. We had a question here from Gil about the post office, and we tried to help the post office in the CARES Act because they've lost a lot of business and their service is down, and they're going door to door, and they're on the front lines. Post have gloves and masks and you name it, but they're in jeopardy too. And the decline in volume. There is a provision that expands the post office borrowing authority in the CARES Act, but we need to do more than that for the post office, and we'll be trying to do it in future CARES Act provisions. Mr. David A. asks, how will the federal funds be distributed if individuals don't have a bank account? And I think we've talked about that. Mostly they'll be direct deposit, but if you have Social Security or tax refund payments, but you can visit the new online portal the IRS plans to launch the week of April 13th. April 13th is next week, Monday, to input an address or banking information for direct deposit. So that's another area you can go. Dennis D. and James C. both asked, what does 5G have to do with the spread of the coronavirus? And is this strain of coronavirus man-made? Well, this is the misinformation stuff. I don't know if it's coming from Russia, where it's coming, but there's a whole bunch of misinformation out there. Some of the misinformation was that African Americans wouldn't be getting this, and that was just not true, that it was going to just be people who travel to Europe and travel to Asia and the high-pollutant folks that might have dealt with those people and interacted with them and blah, blah, blah. No, it's in our country, and African Americans are being affected by it in much greater numbers than their population. The percentage of people who've gotten the COVID-19 have been affected by the coronavirus and who have died from it is a much higher percentage of African Americans and African American population, and a lot of that has to do with institutional things that just exist that we need to eradicate, which is food deserts and health deserts. And having diabetes is an underlying condition that can make you more likely to get it, and seriously where you have to be hospitalized or lose your life. So if you got diabetes, you have cancer and you've been treated for it, you got heart disease, be extra careful. And that's something we have to suffer from here. And a lot of African Americans have to go out and work, and they're working at the grocery stores and the Walmarts and you name it. They can't do home shelter and work from their house, which makes them more susceptible too. So be very careful. These things, 5G has nothing to do with it. Where that come from is just out of left field. They come on the internet and people don't know. Some think Russia had something to do with that, but I don't know. And it's a wireless technology being rolled out around the world. It does not emit enough radiation to weaken the immune system, and this theory has led to real-life consequences. The citizens have torched cell phone towers in the UK, thinking that was a problem. Another conspiracy theory is it was human-made, either by the CIA or by China. Neither's true. Originally, apparently it came from bats, not baseball, bats that fly and got the wings. And it was transferred to humans through another animal. Maybe in China they buy live animals, and I don't know what happens there. They have some unusual culinary activities. The virus, we don't know that it can be killed by hot weather. And it's not the hot weather of the summer, but it's the amount of light, because it's light, sunlight. But you got the coronavirus in countries at the equator and countries in the southern hemisphere and the southern part of our country in Miami and in California where they've got long days and got sunlight. So it doesn't look like that the summer is going to be a disinfectant like it is for many flus. And there's no evidence that suggests that any other animal or mosquitoes contribute to it either. So we need to get away from these conspiracy theories and check out the stuff that you hear real well. There's also this whole thing with chloroquine, hydroxychloroquine. That has not proved to be effective. People need that for lupus. People need that for rheumatoid arthritis. And because it's been talked about, there are shortages, and some people have hoarded it. Some people are using it. Somebody in Arizona, I think it was Arizona, drank some of it that they had, and then they died from it. There are problems can be associated with the use of that drug, and unless a doctor gives it to you, don't go and get involved with it. And the people with lupus and rheumatoid arthritis need it. So the spread of misinformation, or fake news, as sometimes it's called, or conspiracy theories, are always a serious issue. They can sway elections, sway our democracy, and they can get people to think things about their health that aren't accurate. So when talking about the coronavirus, it's a matter of life and death. Follow recommendations from reliable sources like the CDC, doctors, your community health centers, nurses, scientific and medical community. And the most important thing you do to stop the virus right now is to stay in place, stay at home, wash your hands frequently for 20 seconds, not to touch your face, and keep social distancing. Those are the keys, and we're doing pretty good with that in Tennessee. I want to commend our folks. We had a bunch of people at some parks. That was not a good thing, and we just don't need to get together. We've got some big days in our community right now. Passover started last night, and Good Friday is tomorrow, and Easter is Sunday. There are times that normally we get together with others and celebrate these religious holidays, and they're traditions that we have. This year we're going to miss the traditions, and we need to miss them. We just can't gather in large numbers, and because even if you're asymptomatic, you don't think you're ill, you're not coughing, you don't have a fever, you're not having chills, you still can have the virus and expose other people to it and convey it. So don't look at, just worship in your closet. I think something in the New Testament, Jesus saying, "Worship, don't go in the temple courtyard, but worship in your closet, and your Father will hear your prayers." They miss the Easter egg hunt. The Easter dinner is going to be smaller, just like the Passover Seders were smaller. My Passover Seder last night was just me and a small bowl of matzo ball soup, and that was it. Next year, it'll all be better. And we've just got to stay together and make sure it does get better. And we need to always thank police, fire, postal people, folks at the grocery store, social distancing at the grocery stores, wear gloves when you go into the grocery store to touch the handles, or take some wipes to clean off the handle in the grocery store, wear masks when you go out. If you go to the gas station and you fill up, have some gloves on when you use the handle on the gas to put the gas in your car, and have some Purell or something to clean your hands afterwards. You just got to be extra careful and extra clean. You don't want to get this virus. It just knocks people for a loop, and it kills people. And we don't have a vaccine, and we don't have a cure. And right now, the people, I don't know if any of y'all seen Chris Cuomo on CNN, but it's awful. And all he can do, he does the show, which is great, to tell us about it, but he's been going through an awful experience, especially at night. He's lost 13 pounds, chills, and you can't get enough clothes on you to try to keep you. And then so he had one of my colleagues, 5 members of Congress, have come down with the coronavirus, and one of them, Mario Diaz-Balart from Miami, is over it. He's been through the 2 weeks, and he's better. He didn't look too good, to be honest. I saw him last night, and I thought, it's not been good. But he related with Chris the same things, the chills, the awful chills, and he said you want to drink as much as you can and get fluids in you, but that nothing tastes good, and you don't really want to drink anything because nothing tastes good, and you don't want to eat, and you lose weight, and it's just hell. And you got to be separated from your family and isolated. You don't want to get this virus. Miss Chanel, thank you so much. Miss Carr, thank you so much, too, for your service and for being with us. Mr. Terrell, you're great. To everybody on the call, punch 6 if you want to get on our newsletters. And remember, cohen.house.gov has a whole bunch of information about this coronavirus and where you can get tested and where you get lunches and all the different programs. And Miss Carr, can you give that website again for people if they didn't get it earlier about signing up for TANF?
Absolutely, Congressman. Again, our website is tn.gov/human services. And you can find all the information on the emergency TANF cash assistance, as well as our other programs that may be helpful to constituents.
Thank you so much. And Ms. Chanel, do you have anything you want to close with?
Just remember that if you want to talk to your human and we can hug you over the phone, all my staff are available from 8 to 4:30. 615-736-5881. We're here for you in Tennessee.
Thank you, Ms. Chanel. I may call your staff. I tell you, it's not good being single during this situation. And my kitty cat's she's not the kitty cat I had. I had 2 great ones. This one's not that great, and it's pretty lonely here on Kenilworth Place. I need an emotional hug.
Give us a call.
And to my constituents, I give you a big hug. Thank you. Stick in there. We're going to get through this. There are better times ahead, and just stay clean, stay distant, and anything you need. Punch the #6. Sign up for the newsletter. If you have questions, I think you can leave them, or you can call our phones. We're all working remotely, but our office phone in Memphis is 544-4131. That's 544-4131. You might need to leave a message. We'll get your question to the right person. And if you want to call up to Washington for information on something that may not be local, it's 202-225-3265. 225-3265. Same number as Harold Ford Sr., same number as Harold Ford Jr. Appreciate your call. We're going to sign off here because we don't want to spend any more money than we have to. We'll have more of these. And District 9, Ms. Chanel, Ms. Carr, everybody else, thank you so much.